What's up, Headless Horde? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Mortis arc from the Clone Wars and how it relates to that final scene that we see in the finale of Ahsoka. So before we can dive too much into the whole Abeloth theory, let's talk about the father, the son, and the daughter. The father, also known as the Keeper of the Balance, was a being who stood as the patriarch of a family of gods known as the Ones. The father maintained the balance between his daughter and his son, who were incarnations of the light and the dark side of the Force. At some point in the timeline, the father was forced to withdraw from a temporal world. We now know that this temporal world is Peridia, thanks to the Ahsoka finale. He took his children to a realm called Mortis, after his mortal wife, the mother, became the infamous dark side user known as Abeloth. During the time of the Clone Wars, the father learned that the Chosen One had been found and decided to meet him in person. When the Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Ahsoka Tano visited the planet Mortis, Skywalker encountered the father and was tasked by him to pass one test in order to find out whether or not he was actually the Chosen One. Anakin successfully passed the test, and then the father asked him to take his place on Mortis to keep the balance of the Force because he was dying. However, the son had his own plans. He tried to turn the Chosen One onto his side and unleashed the dark side of the Force into the galaxy. As the father tried to stop him, he was betrayed by his son, who tried to kill him with the Dagger of Mortis. Now, this is a weapon that was made to be able to kill Force wielders. The daughter ended up sacrificing herself to save her father's life. She did this by giving her essence of life into a dead Ahsoka Tano. With the balance of the Force being tipped toward the dark side due to the son's existence not being balanced by the daughter, the father warned the Jedi to leave the planet. Now, at this point, the father did not know that his son had turned Anakin to the dark side and showed him different visions of him in the future as Darth Vader. The father needed to wipe Anakin's memories if he were to bring balance to the Force. Now, because of the son's strength, the Jedi were not able to hold him, and he basically tossed them aside like they were nothing. The only thing the father could do was to commit suicide by using the Dagger of Mortis. He then stabs himself. This in return makes the son weakened, and this is how Anakin is able to kill him with the lightsaber. Now that we know the story of the Mortis Gods, let's talk about Abeloth. So one day, a stranger ended up coming into the One's world. The woman initially became the servant of the family, but eventually became the mother after presumably marrying the father and patching up the relationship between the son and daughter. For years, everything went well. However, the mother was still mortal, and as a result, she grew older and became unable to maintain the peace between the two children. One day, while the others were fighting in the home's courtyard, she quickly snuck a drink from the font of power and then bathed in the pool of knowledge. The father pulled her out using the Force, but it was too late. The fountain pool restored the mother's youth and bestowed on her great power and immortality, but it also corrupted her. From that moment on, she was no longer the mother, but Abeloth, the bringer of chaos. She attacked the son and daughter, beating them into submission until the father interfered and restrained her. He then took his children and left the world, stranding Abeloth behind by herself, where she would remain until she resurfaced in 40 ABY. Now, again, this is all part of the expanded universe, or, if you will, legends. So how does this all relate to Baylan Skoll and the Ahsoka series? So after all this took place, it is very important to note that there's only a handful of actual people that knew about the Mortis Gods. This included Mother Talzin, Darth Plagueis, Luke Skywalker, and Darth Sidious. Now, the story of Abeloth originated thousands and thousands of years before the known canon. Every couple thousand years, Abeloth would appear whenever there was some type of chaos in the balance of the Force. So the son, daughter, and father would all imprison her. After the death of the Ones in 21 BBY, there was nobody left to imprison the mother when chaos struck the universe. So I think what we're seeing in the Ahsoka series is there's chaos happening. I don't know if it's Thrawn. I don't know if it has to do with the return of Palpatine at this point. But this is why I think that this power is calling to Baylan. Another important aspect of all this is that we do see in Star Wars Rebels that the father, son, and daughter are linked to the world between worlds somehow. We see them on the mural that ends up unlocking a door so Ezra can enter the world between worlds. So I think that will become very important in Season 2, and most likely how Ahsoka and Sabine will end up returning to the known galaxy. Now, why is Baylan the one being called by this power? Well, he's been talking about it the entire season. So I want to go through a few of these quotes that he has said throughout the episodes. We hear Shin Hati say, "What happens when we find Thrawn?" Baylan answers, "For some war, for others, a new beginning." And Shin says, "And for us?" Baylan says, "Power, such as you've never dreamed." When Ahsoka confronts Baylan, Baylan says, "The only reason I'm here is to secure the future." And Ahsoka says, "For you?" And Baylan responds, "Something far greater." Another thing that Baylan says to Ahsoka is, "It is an unfortunate evil, but speaks to an evil truth. One must destroy in order to create." This to me means there's something going to be coming that wants to wipe out the universe, wipe out everything, and start over. The next example is he's talking to Shin Hati again. "When I was a bit older than you now, I watched everything I knew burn." Shin responds, "The Jedi Temple?" Baylan says, "I couldn't make sense of it at the time. As you get older, look at history, you realize it's all inevitable. The fall of the Jedi, rise of the Empire, it repeats again and again and again." In another scene, Shin says, "Won't our alliance with Thrawn finally bring us into power?" Baylan responds, "The sort of power is fleeting. What I seek is the beginning, so I may finally bring this cycle to an end." And Shin responds, "And that beginning is here?" Baylan says, "If the old stories are true." So as you can see throughout the season, Baylan keeps saying to Shin that she has an ambition that's driving her in one direction and that his path lies in another direction. And I believe that this other direction is him searching for Abeloth and eventually becoming the Son. Because we saw in episode 5 that Anakin Skywalker helped Ahsoka realize that she did want to become a Jedi once again. This is how we got Ahsoka the White. In other words, Ahsoka the White is her taking on the full responsibility of now being the daughter. Anakin showing up at the end of the season and also in episode 5, I think he's representing the father. So right now we do not have a new son. The son was killed during the Mortis arc by Anakin Skywalker. I think Baylan is being called by Abeloth to be the new son. And I think this is the way that Abeloth is going to come back into the world and have a brand new family. Anakin being the father, the one to bring balance to the Force, Heaven starting in the light and then transforming to the dark as Darth Vader, and then having his own son bring him back to the light. Then we have Ahsoka, the daughter, and now Baylan the son. Now what I find most interesting about this theory is what exactly is the plan with Palpatine? We know that he returns, so what is Dave Filoni going to do with that aspect of the story? Is it something totally different? I know we're leading there, but maybe this is just the story for the next 8 to 10 years of Star Wars, where Abeloth is like the big bad, and now Anakin and Baylan and Ahsoka need to defeat this creature. Now in Legends, it is Luke Skywalker and his son Ben Skywalker that take out Abeloth. And this brings me to my final point. This is where Luke Skywalker becomes so important, because maybe he has to join forces with the father, the son, and the daughter to take out Abeloth. Where does Ben Solo play into all this? Is this something that happens before he turns? It's going to be very interesting, and I know I've been on record saying that I did not love the Ahsoka series, but the one thing I do love is that if this all comes true, and this is the route that they are going to go, at least this is moving the story forward. We didn't get a lot of that in Ahsoka. We kind of rehashed a lot of what we already knew, but this part, this aspect, is what I'm really excited for. And it just takes us into a new direction. Alright guys, let me know what you think about this theory. Where do you think we're headed after the Ahsoka Season 1 finale? Don't forget to smash that like button. Keep those heads on. And I will see you guys